Hello everyone. I'm Archer Gary. I'm the Washington State NGN president. Can everyone hear me? Just give me a thumbs up or a yes in chat. Yes, nice. Okay, awesome. We're just gonna wait for a couple more people to trickle in, but I just want to say thank you guys for showing up early. That's awesome. Okay, and we're pretty good to go. Welcome to our 2020 summer workshop. Again, thank you guys so much for showing up, showing your interest. Right now, we got some exclusive opportunities, some updates, just some general info that's going to be really nice for you guys to know. But I guess to start off, I'd love to show off a bit about ourselves, a bit about NGN. So specifically, we're kind of a youth business competition, social entrepreneurship club, which is a lot of words, but breaking it down, social entrepreneurship is using creative ideas and innovation to improve problems that you see in your communities or local areas, or it can grow even bigger than that. And we want to promote that social entrepreneurship, and we want to get the youth involved in doing that. And one of the number one ways we do that is through our annual global conference down in San Francisco. So you participate in that by pitching either a product, program, STEM type idea, or some sort of campaign, policy, social movement, and you take that project and you pitch it to the judges. And the judges are usually real investors or people with high corporate connections who are 100% interested in your ideas and respect your kind of mindset coming from a youth perspective. Now, to join NGN, if you live in Washington, you can reach out to us at wastatengn@gmail.com. That's our email. Or you can DM us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of our socials. If you live outside of Washington, outside of the US, you can contact Shutik at ngn.org. He's our international president, and he can manage you whether you're in America or anywhere else in the globe, really. And if you have any questions about NGN, you can ask them now, and we'd love to take them. Okay, I'm gonna assume y'all are good, but that's us. Registered nonprofit, fantastic opportunity. And on the topic of amazing opportunities in the theme of NGN, the national team for the U.S. The San Francisco meeting still be taking place this year because of coronavirus. Thank you for the question. No, it will not. It will be in online pitch. It will still have the same judges. It'll feel still pitchy. It's kind of the same vibe, but it's not going to be in person, unfortunately, due to coronavirus. Good question, though. But as for kind of the exciting opportunities, the national positions, this is for the U.S. You can see a list of positions right here. They're incredible positions in case you're passionate about just leadership, maybe social entrepreneurship. If you're into more finance and accounting, the treasury, cabinet members, a fantastic position. There's just a little bit for no matter what your passion is, there's probably something you can find. And they're in need of very capable people right now. So if you think you're up to the challenge, you can apply at the URL at the bottom. Now moving on for our roster up for today, coming in just shortly in about 10 minutes, we have Sandeep Krishnamurthy. He's the UW Bothell Dean of Business. He has loads of experience. He's published multiple books. And then just following him about an hour later, we have Sarah Studer. She's the Foster School of Business, Burke Center of Entrepreneurship Assistant Director, also extremely experienced in the field of business. Coming in at 2 p.m., we have Parag Garg. He's the T-Mobile Product and Tech VP. He's also incredibly experienced in his field of product development and just technology. Incredible speaker. And then to close us out at 3 p.m., we have Savita. She's Stanford class of 24, ISEF researcher. She's just an incredibly accomplished person for her age and just incredibly accomplished overall. But I see you guys have some questions. Is there a certain amount of years we need to be in NGN to run for a national position? No, it's open to everyone regardless of experience. Experience helps, but I'd say apply anyways because ambition means more. Where can you learn about the positions? As for positions, if you have any questions about them, you can email shootsick@ngn.org. Um, Alternatively, you can go to our website, ngn.org, and might be able to help yourself there. It is under construction right now, though, so I'd recommend emailing shoottick@ngn.org. Are people still able to apply to do a pitch? Yes, people are able to apply at the San Francisco event. However, again, it's not going to be in person, it's going to be online. And it's still open for applications. It hasn't really kicked off quite yet, in fact. And what should we pitch at competitions? Are there themes? That's a fantastic question, George. For competitions, you should be pitching something either in the STEM or kind of social movement category. And as for the themes, they're kind of these 21 goals or ideas that we have. And these 21 goals range anywhere from fixing pollution, cleaning the air, cleaning the land, to affordable housing, to integrating AI. Like there's just so many categories that it can touch. If you need more info, our link tree, if someone wants to post the link tree in chat for me, the link tree has a presentation on it where you can learn a lot about NGN and a lot of the kind of even more fantastic opportunities that we got there and a bit more about the competition as well. Our Instagram's full of resources. You know, if you're not following us on Instagram yet, that is a mistake, as you should be. How old is NGN? NGN was created around 2016, 2017. So it's a couple years. It's new. It's not as established as, in Washington at least, as clubs like DECA or FBLA. But we often compare ourselves to them, and we like to think that, you know, we can often compete with them side by side. Is this a student-led? No, so NGN's actually a registered nonprofit based out of San Francisco, a Silicon Valley type area, you know, center of entrepreneurship and business. That's where we hail from. So there's a lot of establishment for NGN in that area, but Washington's kind of new territory. And as for leadership, there are student leaders. However, everything goes through a board of directors, which are all adults who have loads of experience with entrepreneurship. Do you guys plan to become a CTSO? I'm sorry, but I don't think I'm familiar with the term CTSO. Would you like to explain that for me more a bit, Laura? I'm getting a lot of questions about the kind of leadership opportunities, so I'll quickly go back to the positions. I can run through the kind of tasks of each of these, but if you have very specific questions, I would recommend highly emailing shoottick@ngn.org. Someone can post that back in chat again. Shoottick is our international kind of leader, and he knows everything there is about NGN, and he'd be most likely the one interviewing you and kind of putting you on the team for these national positions, so I'd email him. But just quickly running through these, the co-vice president for the national would have kind of similar responsibilities as a president, and a president is to kind of manage the entire thing, touch in on members, make sure everything's running smoothly. Vice presidents would manage a lot of day-to-day stuff, just making sure emails go out, making sure tasks are done on time. The events cabinet members, you're in charge of managing events, so that'd be stuff like this, so like a workshop, or we do hackathons. The PR cabinet member, you'd be working on the PR team, so that means managing social medias, press releases. You're talking to the public. You're creating just media. Secretary manages a lot of just administrative work, making sure all the files and databases are in place, making sure that everything's just in check and looks good on paper. The Treasury Cabinet member, obviously that has loads to do with finance. You're managing the Treasury. You're approving funds. You're writing out budgets, and you're helping states with their own fundraising. The international outreach lead, so that you'd work on contacting international students or student leaders to get them to kind of start NGN in their local areas. And NGN goes all over the globe. We're in like India, Southeast Asia, Africa. So we got a big focus on international. National works inside the country. So inside here in the US, you'd be working on getting NGN to areas that haven't been covered a lot. The East Coast, for example, does not have like any NGN presence. And as for state directors would be my position. So you'd be managing over an entire state, making sure NGN spreads the chapters. You'd be hosting events, managing your executive team. And I'm afraid that's not available in Washington. Obviously, that's my job. But California and Georgia already have state directors. Everywhere else, though, if you're from another state, do not be afraid to email either us at wastatengn at gmail.com or shootdick@ngn.org because we'd love to have you part of the NGN family. Now, as it's coming up, we're just 3 minutes away from Sandeep's presentation here. Will it be a recorded version of this? Yes! So, in case you cannot make it or have to leave somehow in the middle, we will be putting a recorded version up on the YouTube channel. That's just NGN Washington on YouTube. I do recommend sticking around if you possibly can, because getting to ask questions live to these speakers is just an amazing opportunity with just the collective years of experience they have on their belt. On top of that, on the topic of questions, make sure that you're preferably asking them in chat. We'd like it if you guys didn't unmute yourself and ask them in person. Could just be a little disruptive for the speakers themselves. As well, we have a post-workshop survey that we'd like you guys to take after you're done listening to any of our speakers. We'll be posting them in chat regularly after the speaker. But the post-workshop survey just gives us a bit of help, and it enters you into our $30 Amazon gift card raffle. Yeah, and so if there's no other questions, we will just be chilling for a couple minutes as we wait for Sandeep to get ready. It's our first speaker, so sorry guys, but just hang in tight there, and we'll be with you in a second.
All right. Okay, guys. So I just want to thank you all for coming again today, and thank you so much for Sandeep for coming to speak for us today as well. Sandeep Krishnamurthy is the UW Bothell Dean of Business and is incredibly experienced in the field with several publications about e-commerce and marketing and several more accomplishments. Today, Sandeep will teach us about business school and some business concepts in general and how we all can get involved with business and entrepreneurship in high school. Please take it away, Sandeep, if you are ready. I believe he's having a little bit of a technical difficulty, guys. I'm so sorry. He'll be here in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Hey Sandeep, if you have a screen to share, you can get that set up now if you want.
Let's do it. Okay, I'll just change this to. I'm ready.
Perfect. You can go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Okay, so let's get started. Just making sure everything works. Hey, fantastic. So glad to be here, and I see there are 48 attendees. My goodness, that is fantastic. And thanks to all of you for taking a Saturday afternoon in the summer and investing in yourself. I think that's a pretty big deal. So I am very happy to share my thoughts, and I hope that this is interactive. So from time to time, we'll have small chances for you to share your opinion. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about today really is giving you a sense of how a business school education might look like, but also sharing some views on where all of this is going in the future. And in the meantime, also sharing with you some important frameworks that you can take to work on yourself to ensure that you're aligned with the future. So just making sure all of you know that, so my name is Sandeep Krishnamurthy. My last name, if you don't know how to say it, it's basically divide and conquer. It's 4 syllables, so Krishnamurthy. So that's how you say it. So anyways, I like to start off by sharing my philosophy, my values, and because I think it's very important to remind ourselves of these things, especially when things are very uncertain as they are right now. So the very first thing that I always say is, and the way I approach education is I really encourage everybody to believe in their abilities. Everybody here is different. Some people are strong in some areas, some people are strong in other areas. but you have to take your abilities seriously, and you can achieve whatever you set your mind to. So, but please take your abilities, your gifts seriously, and continue to work on them. Which brings us to point number two, that we live in a knowledge economy. So it used to be, if you remember, we started out as an industrial economy, then moved to a service economy, and now we are in a knowledge economy. What that means is that learning is the only competitive advantage you'll ever have. And the more you learn, the more relevant you're going to be. I really believe in that. And I think you will see that this is true. Um, so when you ask people with experience, they're going to tell you this, every single time. And I think number three, very important, is you're not alone. A lot of times people feel lonely, isolated, discouraged, dispirited, and so on. Always find your community. And today it seems like we have an amazing community that is getting formed here. So kudos to you all. And then finally, it's easier said than done, but become better every day. Try to improve yourself every single day. And I think that is extremely important. Learn something new, pick up a new skill, meet someone, find a way to, ask interesting questions, whatever it is, become better every day. So this is how I approach my life. This is how I approach the way I educate. So this is, so having gotten that out of the way, what I have for you are 3 warm-up quiz questions. I'll just, toss them up. They really toss up things, and I hope they are going to get you going. Okay, so let's try this. So enter your answer in the chat. Okay, this is a total gimme, right? Oh my God. Yeah, total gimme. All of you know this. B, 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 B. Okay. I think everyone knows this. You folks are flying on this. Okay, great. Awesome. And number 2, here's a quick quiz for you. Oops, sorry. Went to the next slide. Let's stay on this. So Nancy has an individual net worth of, what did I say? 3.1 million. She will therefore pay an annual income tax at this rate. Someone said which country? Okay. Okay, I think many of you kind of got this, but it looks like some people are still kind of thinking about it. Yeah, so the point is that net worth is a description of your wealth, not your income, right? Net worth is a description of how much you have accumulated. Basically, if you take out all your accumulated assets and you subtract your liabilities, that would be your net worth. The government does not tax you on your net worth. It does not tax you on your wealth. It only taxes you on the income that you earn. And hence, the answer is none of the above, D. So just a friendly reminder that it's good to know. And one of the things that you learn in business school is the difference between, for example, what's the difference between a cost and expenses? What's the difference between income and wealth? What's the difference between a strategy and a tactic? So I think in the business school, you learn the language of business. You also learn the mechanics of business, how business works. And I think you will find that this is very relevant, not just for, your when you take up a job, but also in your personal life. For example, students at UW-Bothell, they file income tax returns for the poor and indigent. If you have an income less than, I believe, $60,000, our students will file a free income tax return for you. And we do that because it helps them learn how income works. It helps them learn what are taxable expenses and what are not. And it's just a great skill for people to have in terms of, as a society, why do we have taxes, and what are the human activities that are taxed, is something interesting for them to learn. So that's just an example. Okay, number 3, the top 3 Washington state companies by revenue in 2019 were, and it's just pretty easy too, I think. Some of you are Googling. Stop Googling. Yeah, all of you got it. So it used to be a few years ago, the answer to this question was actually Costco. But of course, now Amazon is the monster. So 1, 2, 3, there are just 3 companies that have annual revenue greater than 100 million in our 100 billion in our state. And those are Amazon, Costco, and Microsoft. So I think the reason, the other thing that happens in business schools is you're constantly involved in the actual workings of the business. So for example, our students attend a Costco general body meeting where you learn directly from the CEO, CFO, and how they are viewing their business, where it's going. And you have Costco shareholders asking the CEO questions. And it happens in the Maidenbauer Center every year, by the way. So that's an example of how, of an activity that you might see in a business school. So yeah, we have great companies here, by the way. Both the future of our economy is very strong because of these kinds of companies. Okay, great. So let's just now get into a more comprehensive look at how we construct a vision for business schools. And this is something that comes to us from an international accrediting body called AACSB. But basically, they did a big effort where they connected businesses, business leaders, professors, students, staff, got everyone together and said, what do we do in business schools? And basically they came up with 5 themes on what business schools are all about. Number 1, catalysts for innovation. We love entrepreneurship. We love to support the future entrepreneurs, and we love to connect entrepreneurial ideas with the right frameworks so people can take their ideas and convert them into realistic plans. So we love to be a catalyst for innovation. Number 2, a hub of lifelong learning. We believe that learning is forever. Remember what I said earlier. Learning is the only competitive advantage that you'll have. So which means that we all now are interested in something called the 60-year curriculum. The 60-year curriculum is this concept that you don't stop learning when you graduate. It's not that you just go to school, you learn something, and then you're done. Those days are over. You have to keep learning all through your career. It's about lifelong learning. So one of the things that we talk about internally is that we teach our students how to learn, and we teach them how to critically incorporate various perspectives and arrive at professional opinions and then decisions. These are the sorts of perspectives that we like to talk about. Number 3, enablers of global prosperity. It is very common for CEOs of large companies to have an MBA degree, for example. So this is very important because the business school is providing the leaders of the future the right education, and this is true worldwide. So business schools are how you become a senior business leader. I have met my friends. So my personal background is I have an undergraduate in chemical engineering and an MBA and then a PhD. And certainly if I compare my engineering friends and my MBA friends 25 years later, the perspective is very different. Those that did an engineering and then got an MBA have really gone off to become leaders. They are leading very important organizations, and so on. And then finally, co-creators of knowledge. So which means that we are really interested in understanding what is the most important thing that students should be learning, um, as they move ahead in their journey of, of leadership. So basically, we believe that we are collaborating to create the right knowledge for students to be successful. So these are some perspectives on how you think about business, how our community, and I'm talking about hundreds of business schools coming together, and this is how we have developed our collective vision for business education. But I think, much more practically, I think the first one is, if you go to business school, it's all about preparing future business leaders. So there are a whole lot of competent people in the world. There are a whole lot of very intelligent people in the world. Not everyone becomes a business leader, though. So what we do is we prepare future business leaders. We figure out what is it that people need, and that is going to take them from an individual contributor to a leader of people, and then to a leader of organizations. Number two, we believe that we are helping the common good through imparting ethics and social values. I mean, this is really important. We view ourselves as integral to society. So we think about three important ways in which the world is organized: business, government, and society. So we believe that we are supporting the common good by graduating principled leaders who are going to bring an ethical perspective in terms of how they're going to make decisions. And we want, every time we go to employees and we say, what is it you want from our students? They say, we want people who can work collaboratively in teams. If you don't know how to work in teams, that is really difficult for us to teach. So I think they really are looking for the schools to help graduate collaborators. They want people that can work with diverse perspectives, all kinds of interesting people, listen to them, take their ideas, and then build on it and drive to results. These are the sorts of things that we hear from the business community. And number four, provide you the financial acumen needed to navigate your personal and professional life. So it is very important that um, you know that you know that a whole lot of Americans make exceptionally poor financial decisions. For example, credit card debt in this country is at an all-time high. The average number of credit cards per person, the last time I checked, was 5. Um, People are still taking payday loans. Payday loans are not, outlawed, even though they charge usurious interest. People make really bad decisions when it comes to taking on student debt. um, so there are it's very, very important for a society to where we're graduating people with the right financial acumen needed to navigate not just your personal life but also your professional life. But also, I think a business school is a place where you connect to a powerful network. So certainly it is a place where you go to meet future CEOs, entrepreneurs, investors. So it's a very vibrant and dynamic environment. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this concept called Ikigai. So wherever you go, whether you go to a business school or you don't go to a business school, I think it's very important that you become self-aware. And like I said earlier, everybody is different, but everybody is different in a different way, right? So if you're trying to figure out where you want to go in your life, you have to answer 4 questions, right? And some of you may have already seen this framework, so no problem, but I'm just making sure everybody here has seen this framework. And you can simply try to answer this in the next 5 minutes for yourself if you feel that you can do that. But answer to 4 questions. What do you love doing? Number 2, what are you good at? Just because you love doing something does not mean you're going to be good at it, right? So for example, you might love Chinese food. I love Chinese food, but am I good at preparing Chinese food? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So what I love and what I'm good at can be completely different. And number 3 is what the world needs. And what the world needs can shift, right? What the world needs can shift. So for example, if you look at, what the world needs today as opposed to 6 months ago. Suddenly the world needs, plexiglass shields, gloves, masks. The world needs more, hand sanitizer, sanitizing wipes. The world needs, more Amazon packages. So basically, things are shifting, and they have shifted in the last, 3 to 6 months. And then finally, the pragmatism, what you can be paid for. It is absolutely great to go off and solve some problem that you believe is really compelling. Great, but do you know if you can get paid to do that? So I would actually like to take a few minutes and invite you to answer, if you don't want to answer all 4 questions, answer 2 questions. For example, what you love and what the world needs, and what you're good at and what the world needs in the chat. Let's see if we can get people to answer 2 of these 4 questions. Sometimes it feels like very daunting and people feel like, oh my God, I need to do research. Yeah, that's true. But let's try to answer 2 of these questions in the chat. What do you love doing? And what are you good at doing? Do you feel comfortable, answering that? And so pick 2 questions and provide your answers. And again, my encouragement is to invest in self-awareness. If you're not self-aware, whichever school you go to, you will not be able to fully leverage what you're learning in order for you to be successful. So the answers for these questions can shift for you. You might love doing something right now, and it might shift in the next 6 months. Answering the question what you're good at may also shift in the next few months, and that's absolutely fine. So okay, looks like people are not comfortable sharing. That's fine, but my encouragement is look up Ikigai. Oh, here are some answers. Okay, love music, like to think I'm good with it. Okay, that's great. Love structure. Okay, good at critical thinking. Okay. The world needs better medical devices. Yeah, no doubt. Wow. Yeah, and what I found with Ikigai is it's a framework that I like to just visit every year for myself. I like to get back to it, and take a look at it in terms of who I am, what I'm good at, and it's a good way for me to ask, am I really learning at the rate I ask everybody else around me to learn, right? Wow, how wonderful! We have all kinds of very interesting people, here. Okay, love content creating, and world needs innovative marketing skills and tactics. Okay. Pauline says, love interacting with younger students and children and community back home. The world needs more platforms that allow people that come from underprivileged communities to learn about financial freedom and how to build wealth. Oh my goodness. Absolutely, yes. I agree with you. Yeah, a lot of people, I'm also a big believer in entrepreneurs from around the world that come from really tough circumstances, who are working hard to improve themselves. Thank you all for sharing. Really appreciate it. And my advice for you is just take this framework, and nobody else has to see it. Just put down the answers and put it up on your wall, and just look at it from time to time, and you'll be surprised. I think you will find that this is going to become a very powerful force in your life that is going to be very orienting. It is going to be a way by which you can use this as a framework to keep moving yourself. Okay, so the message here: become self-aware. Whatever you're looking for in an education, know yourself before you get into that. And here are some additional perspectives on. So let me start. So one of the things is when you get into a school, um, a lot of people think of learning as what I have here in the first bullet, which means that they think of learning as the ability to grasp a body of knowledge. I am going to understand the rules of accounting. I'm going to learn how to optimize supply chains. And they want some skills, they want some body of knowledge, and they think that they're just acquiring that. But I want to give you some other perspectives on what it is, what it means to learn something. The first thing that I like to talk about is resistance to confusion. If you have truly learned something, you will not get easily confused. Frequently, we find that students, they learn the material, but they expect that the questions are going to be exactly in the same way that they learned the material. But that's not how quizzes are designed. The quizzes are designed to push your thinking a little bit. So we push the thinking a little bit. Sometimes people get very confused. They don't do very well. So resistance to confusion is one way of thinking of learning. The other thing we encourage is ability to explain to others or teach. You think you know something, teach it, right? So suppose you think you know how to do financial analysis, teach it. So I encourage all of you to also think about ways by which you can learn from each other by getting someone from your community teach what they know to each other. Create a learning community, right? And we like the idea of discernment, uh, which is, are you able to separate good arguments from bad arguments? We are, floating in a sea of fake news, as you know. And can you separate out the true from the false? And finally, can you discern between an optimal solution and a suboptimal solution? So we are very interested in optimization as well in the business school world. I also wanted to share with you a framework that's, I don't know if you have seen before, um, but this is something that comes from, it's called the 21st Century Skill Framework. And this is how it looks like. And there's a lot going on here. So, so bear with me, but, but essentially this one has 3 important themes in terms of what a university education is all about. The first one is that we want our students to be an engaged thinker. So I'm now looking at the outer periphery of this framework, and I'm coming in, I'm zooming in. I'm starting out and then zooming in. So the first one is engaged thinker. We want all of you to be engaged thinkers. We want you to become, very good at reasoning. We want you to be very good at making an effective argument, and we want you to be good critical thinkers and innovative problem solvers. Number 2, we want you to be an ethical citizen. We want you to be socially responsible. We want you to have cultural, global, and environmental awareness. We want you to be effective communicators, and we want you to be digitally literate. And then finally, we want you to have the entrepreneurial spirit. So this is where we talked about collaboration, lifelong learning, self-direction is also thrown in here, and personal management. How well do you manage yourself? And then finally, digital literacy. So, and at the heart of it, if you can see the 2 words, it's literacy and numeracy. We need you to be great digital storytellers, and we need you to be able to do the analysis that is necessary to solve a problem. All of these things are needed. So there's a lot here, but this is the most comprehensive framework that can express to you how universities approach teaching. Hold on a second. Looks like my neighbor has started some construction work. I'm just going to close the window. 1 second. Sorry about that. So I think, so thinking about this is again really important in terms of how you bring, the 3 important dimensions: engaged thinker, ethical citizen, and entrepreneurial spirit, all into one framework. And then I wanted to end on by sharing with the framework for the future. I believe that COVID-19 has completely, changed the world. And the future is not what it used to be, is the way we put it. Meaning that just a few months ago, we were talking about, keep going to the next slide. We were talking about, a very stable sort of a world, and all of a sudden you have a technology enabled, global virtual world. We have all entered the matrix, is the way I think about it. So I think what I have done is proposed a new model um, that I think is relevant for each and every one of you. And I hope you think about this. And I would love to get your feedback on this new idea. And the idea is that, STEM is great, but, we need a more holistic framework to capture what is needed for the world to come. And I call the new framework BEST. And I know STEM is something that you've heard of before. So this new idea is BEST, and there are just 4 quadrants to it. The first one is business acumen. Second one is ethics and integrity. Third one is scientific expertise. And fourth one is technology management. So we are borrowing a little bit from STEM, but we are also expanding it using the business part and the ethics and integrity piece. So in business acumen, these are some very standard and typical topics that you would get in a very traditional business school, where we talk about customer centricity, understanding the customer needs, getting customer insights, very common. Talking about cost structure. Does your organization have the right cost structure to compete in a recession? Standard business school discussion. Competitive strategy, governance and boards. I serve on some boards, and what makes for an effective board, and what is the role of the board as opposed to the CEO? How does that relationship play out? What happens if the CEO is also serving on the board? Some interesting sorts of governance questions. Financial analysis, leadership, managerial communication, global business, very standard sort of business acumen. And the argument is we certainly don't need to dismantle any of this. All of this is very important, but we need to just add and grow to this. So the number 2 quadrant that I like to talk about is ethics and integrity. And first one is managerial ethics. Very important. We want to graduate principal leaders, and we want our managers to be ethical human beings, ethical decision makers who are thinking about the common good while they make their decisions. But also there are many areas that are now coming up that are very important. Digital privacy and security, for example, massive issue. It is very, very important that our students are educated in understanding how to navigate this area. And then data management, data provenance, data compliance, data integrity is a big deal. When you're putting out data, whether for others to consume within your organization, what is the quality of the data? And garbage in, garbage out, right? Which is, if you are basing your decisions based on faulty data, then it is absolutely not going to work. And then finally, this is going to be a big topic for all of you. As we say, a few years from now, an algorithm might be your boss, right? An algorithm might be your boss. So just think about that. And we want your boss, the algorithm, to have the right values, the right ethics. And if you're not aware, I encourage all of you to look up Microsoft and TAY, T-A-Y. So this is one of the earliest chatbots that the world ever saw. And when Microsoft put it out, to their utter dismay, within 24 hours, the chatbot was completely trained by everyone to spew racist and all kinds of hateful things. So they hastily took the chatbot down. So ethics in AI is going to be a big topic, and everybody in business schools should be aware of this. And then we talk about scientific expertise, but we also distinguish between scientific expertise and technology management. Scientific expertise is actually having the competence in a technical field. And the technology management is more about, the difference between, some people can build a car, but some people can actually drive the car. So the technology management is more like driving the car, and scientific expertise is more like, can you build a car? So we certainly need everybody in business school to have these kinds of fundamentals. So data science is going to be important, but one of the big things we always say is don't just think of data science, as a discipline unto itself. Data science has to be applied to business problems in order for it to come to life. So we want you to be thinking about the application of data science. We don't want you to be thinking about data science like you're collecting techniques or a toolbox. Toolboxes are great, but ultimately you need to use the toolbox. And then industry relevant certifications. We like the CPA, accounting, CFA, which is finance, and CMA, which is certified management accounting, also in accounting. CBE is a new certification that has come up, which is called certified business economist. We recommend that. Also, certified analytics professional has come out from Informs, which is the more what's called the management science organization. And you may have heard of things like search engine optimization and other things. So having some hands-on expertise is going to be very important. But in addition to that, we want you all to be thinking about how to manage technology. Whether you know it or not, the future is digital. You're going to work in a technology organization, some way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter if you're working for Starbucks. Starbucks is a technology firm right now. So technology in the context of an organization, really important. Managing the competitive dynamics for technology, trying to figure out why is it some technologies are adopted and not others. And participating in things like internships, capstone projects, undergrad research, where you're getting hands-on on these things is going to be really important. So these are my value statements one more time, just to remind you to please believe in your abilities and to commit to learning and to recognize that you're not alone, and then to find a way to become better every day. So with that, I'll pause and would love to take any of your questions. And now you get to drive the car whichever direction you want to go. So I'm just going to maybe stop sharing here.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was so informative and interesting, and I'm sure it gave us all a new insight into business and education. So now we're going to begin the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please leave it in the chat. But right now, we'll start with the questions that were asked in the initial registration survey that we already have compiled. So some of the questions that people have asked you are, what methods would you suggest for students aiming to gain internships to succeed in the business field?
Yeah. So one of the things that I would really encourage, everyone to do is, basically two things. The first thing is make sure that you have picked up some digital skills. And I think this is something that the business world is really looking for. Remember that the business world is looking for what you can do. What you can do. So they are always asking the question, what can you do? So if they understand that you have some technical skills, some digital skills, I think that is going to be really important. Please look up the LinkedIn Digital Skill Initiative that has just been launched. It is going to be free right now. Please take full advantage of that. Pick up skills. That's number one. Number two, network. A lot of times internships are not advertised. So you could find a way to connect with people and have a targeted push. That's the third thing, which is don't take the approach, I'll just take whatever internship comes my way. That if you take that approach, you're likely to be dissatisfied, because the first internship that you get is going to be something so different than your dream internship. So have a targeted push. Try to make a list of companies you would love to work for. So let's say you want to work for Seattle Children's Hospital. Let's say that's your dream. Well, go to LinkedIn and you can start doing a search for, let's say, Seattle Children's Hospital HR. You can start doing, a search, and then LinkedIn connect with people in HR, set up a time with them and say, look, I want to talk to you about how I can contribute to your organization and learn about, your values and priorities. So learn, connect and network. That's going to be the way out. And then, of course, I think many of you are already doing this, but you have to prepare a resume and, certainly continue to apply. I mean, that's not going to go away. But I think that the skilling part is really important. And I think the networking part is really important. And then being targeted is very important.
Yeah, that's a lot of good advice, because I think a lot of high school students don't really know where to start when looking for internships.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a really important piece of advice to give. Another question that was asked is, what is one important piece of advice you have for young entrepreneurs who are starting their first business this year?
Yeah, I think my advice for entrepreneurs is, there's so much to say, but let me try to prioritize what is it that I want to say. So I'll just distill it to two pieces of advice. The first thing is, make sure it actually solves a problem for someone. Whatever you're building something. Make sure that it actually solves a problem for someone, and make sure it is easy for that person to use your app, your technology in whatever way, shape, or form. So you can ask people that ask your dad, ask your mom to actually use the product and then give you feedback. And you will be surprised. So pay attention to customer experience, pay attention to user experience, starting from the first time when somebody goes in. Is it working? Is it not working? Is it clear to them what you're asking? And then how they progress through your whole, app, and how they come out, if it's a technology of some sort. But even in non-technology businesses, I think thinking through the customer experience, thinking about those that you're trying to help. Do they understand what is it that you're providing them? Do they care about that? And then are they willing to pay for that? So you can actually take Ikigai and apply it to the customer. Does the customer want it? Does the customer, feel like they're going to pay for it? Things like that. So really apply that. And I think the second thing is, you will not believe the number of entrepreneurs who say that they're not, paying attention to the bottom line. The financials of your startup matter immensely. We want you to build a profitable business. Profit does not mean that you will stop growing. Profit and growth can coexist. Okay, so pay attention to profit. First of all, pay attention to the experience. Number two, pay attention to profit.
Yeah, that's really amazing, because I think a lot of, especially young entrepreneurs that are starting in high school, have a lot of tunnel vision. They just want to see the end, but they don't really think about like the financials and the consumer experience a lot. So that's very good advice. Another question that was asked prior to the workshop was just a general, what is the learning environment like at UW Bothell?
Oh, yeah, UW Bothell is, the learning environment is very collaborative. We tend to have smaller class sizes. People know their professors by name. It is a very friendly culture. It is a culture that is supportive of all students. And we do have, very diverse students. You might be in the same class, with students with different, cultural experiences. You might have students that are veterans, sitting there. So all sorts of interesting people you're going to meet. So yeah, so Amazon, Apple, I think they're looking for fields like finance. Somebody has to prepare financial statements for, Apple, Amazon. They're looking. Amazon would look for supply chain management. They really care about the logistics, distribution, and so on. Number three would be HR. They're looking to hire people in human resource functions, and to some degree, they're looking for program management and project management. They're looking for people that can run, programs, that can run projects. So those are some of the areas, to pay attention to. Certainly, I think there are some people that go into the warehouse environment in Amazon, but they go in as leaders. So you might actually go in as somebody running a warehouse. So certainly, we do not want our graduates to be the ones, on the floor necessarily. Certainly, the business side is going to be very important. And I think there is an expectation that even in finance, for example, that we want the students to be technologically competent. They want students to be technologically competent. That's very true in Amazon.
Mm. Very interesting. I think a lot of high schoolers right now are trying to figure out what majors, because the work environment is changing so much in the recent years. We're just trying to figure out like what majors would most benefit us with our passions. So I think it's really great that we're hearing from you today. Another question that kind of goes along with this one is, what fields do you believe will be a large and lacking in people in coming years?
Yeah, so basically, the main so the way I think about it is that the ROI for your education is very important. I start with that point of view, and our campus believes in this. So I don't know if you all know, but basically last week CNBC did a national study, and UW Bothell was #1 in the country for ROI for your education. So one way of thinking about answering this question is not to say, where the employment is going to be, but where the ROI for education is going to be, right? So if you start, doing that, I think it is going to be very interesting to answer this question, because I know people who are telling me that just if you want to become a computer programmer, that is not going to be that important, because the #1 priority of all the entrepreneurship venture capital firms that I'm seeing is that they want to create what is called low code and no code platforms. So coding itself might become something that is automated, where you're actually not writing the actual instructions, but you're just creating the logic that drives the programming. So what I would recommend is that so certainly I am biased, that I think business schools are very good to put you on a leadership track that allows you to think about that. But I think if it really depends on you,
Yeah.
I really I start off with, do you know yourself? Are you willing to work in an up and coming field? So suppose I tell you petroleum engineering is going to be a hot field in the next 5 years. You may hate working in petroleum engineering. You may not like that at all. So pay attention to ROI, and pay attention to basically leadership, whether this is going to allow you to become a leader in the company, or it's going to leave you as an individual contributor. And thirdly, think about whether automation is going to take away this profession or not. And so I think there are some professions where increasingly I think you're going to find that those that are doing some activities are it's just going to go away, right?
Yeah.
So, and in the business school, we've already identified accounting, but especially what we call a bookkeeping as something that is going to become really diminished as a result of AI and automation. So, but that is true in all areas. You're going to have robotic healthcare. You're going to have, new platforms that drive app building. So, really thinking that through is going to be very important.
Yeah, so thinking about not only like what you love, but what's actually going to be relevant when we actually like graduate.
Exactly. So don't think about the day of admission. Fast forward to 4 years. Think about the day of graduation, and think about what is it you want to do the day of graduation. And I cannot tell you the number of students who meet me in the spring quarter, just about their graduate, and they have no plan. They don't know where they're going, and they haven't done their ikigai work basically, and they want me to tell them what they're good at. And it's like, no, you need to know what you're good at. They want me to tell them what they love. No, you need to know what you love, right? It
Yeah.
needs to come from you, and you need to have a plan for the day of graduation, the day you get in, right? If you're getting into college next year, you need to have a plan, like, and that, look, I'm going to get this field, down, and then I'm going to do an internship in, between my junior and senior year, and then when I graduate, I'm going to join this company. You may not get there, but at least you have a plan, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so that's really important.
Yeah, so something that all of us can start doing now is like looking at the ikigai, just like thinking about what we love to do and just thinking about all those components and just getting ready for college. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, land of
So,
the free, and you're free to be who you are, but make sure that you're getting into what is right for you. Because I know people who want to lead nonprofits, fantastic, but the salary in nonprofits is not that great. Just be aware of that, and you might be very fulfilled in that career, but go in with your eyes open is my
yeah,
big advocacy. Okay.
yeah. Some other questions are from Ashika. As for ethics and AI, how are the large technology companies currently incorporating ethics within their AI innovation?
Yeah, this is a too large a topic to kind of distill down in a few few short sound bites. But be assured. I mean, you can literally do your research. I mean, if you just type in um, any of the companies, IBM AI ethics, Microsoft AI ethics. I mean, you will see they have an ethics framework now. And in addition to that, all the large technological organizations that are the professional organizations. For example, there's an organization called IEEE. IEEE will have a code of ethics. ACA will have a code of ethics. So this is something that is being defined not just in some ways at the level of the company, but in some ways at the level of the profession itself. And I think the main ideas are, make sure that it is not discriminatory. Make sure that whatever AI or automation that you build, does not treat people in ways that are despicable, that are harmful. And number two, that make sure that there is some predictability to what you're building. That if you're building AI and it's going off in directions that uh, have no bearing with where you started out, I think that is going to be very important. And there are a few others, but I think the number one principle in all ethical frameworks is do no harm. Do no harm. You can do good, but do no harm, okay? And for example, the lawyers, and Microsoft, as you might know, has thousands of lawyers. What they're interested in is saying, suppose you create an automation system and it's putting out advice, let's say financial advice, healthcare advice. How can we be assured that it's not providing advice that is illegal? How can we be assured of that? Right? So this is a massive, massive issue. And I think you will find that the answers are not very simple, but it is a very important question that all of you are going to get affected by, and we need all of you to be thinking about this.
Yeah.
I
So
see a couple of personal messages here too, and I don't think it's very controversial. So I'll just jump in and maybe take those next. Mahima, is it okay?
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So how much experience do younger people tend to need to get an internship? Employers care about what you can do. If you're very young, but I mean, if you can build a great website, you know how to create a mobile app, you've heard of cybersecurity, great, we'd like to talk to you, right? If have you already finished some free certifications? Are you prepared? Have you done research on the company and do you know its priorities, etc., etc. When applying to an internship, would you recommend an email or a phone call? There are two ways of applying for an internship, as I mentioned earlier. One is you go to all the job boards, like Indeed, like LinkedIn has a job board, for example, and you can apply there, or you can network with people. And the way you network with people, number one way is LinkedIn. Just write them a nice note on LinkedIn and then set up a follow-up meeting, which could be a phone call. I recommend a short meeting, maybe 20 minutes. Be prepared. Don't go in and ask a person to say, describe the company to you. For example, if you care about working for PACCAR, know that they're all about, trucks, right? And just don't go to the, call saying, what does your company do again? No, 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 don't do that. Go prepared, right? Do your research and then have a list of questions that you want to ask the person. So that's how you get the internship, okay?
So I think we have 6 minutes left. We can answer one more question. I think Pauline had a question for you, like a personal question. How did you find your passion and what drives you?
Ikigai, 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 right? So basically, look within, my friend. You've got it too. You've got it too. But you have to look within. And what I believe is, I believe in all of you. I think that the future is in your hands, and we need you to truly embrace your potential. And so I just feel like I really enjoy connecting with younger audiences because they have such innovative ideas. It's just a matter of encouraging them and shaping them. So I think the more you know yourself, the more passionate you're going to be, because you'll be more sure of who you are. And that's a lifelong journey. Though I don't pretend to say that it's always been a straight line. I just feel like there are ups and downs, but I just believe in these things as a result of my own self-awareness and self-reflection.
Great.
And And I think it looks like Naomi and Pauline are talking great. There's nothing to do there. That's fine. And then Ashika says, oh, again, that was about the best framework. Okay, Isabella says, what do the people admissions look for when applying to business school? Isabella, let's make you the chief admissions officer for my business school. How would you approach the admissions process? I hope I didn't throw Isabella for a loop. I would look at someone's character and why they want to apply. Yeah. So basically, it comes down to two things that we assess. And I know we have like 4 minutes left, right? And you probably have a break between. So I'll keep this very short. There are two things that we care about. Number one, ability, and number two, motivation. We want you to have both. So if you are motivated to become whatever you want. So for example, you might be motivated to become an accountant, or you might be motivated to be the best marketer in the world. Awesome. We love the motivation. Number two, ability. And when it comes to ability, that's when we care about things like your past academic performance or your past leadership performance, because that is something that we need to get some validation on, and those are ways of measuring that. As we get good with automation and AI and so on, I think we'll be even better with admissions in terms of getting a whole lot of variables. Right now, the number of variables considered are few, but the University of Washington works hard to do something called holistic admission. We really like to look at the full person as much as possible. I'm going to say as much as possible. And certainly, I don't know if we're able to truly and reliably ascertain everyone's character, but we do our best and we work hard to do, holistic, admission. So certainly, Isabella, thank you for responding, and Mahima, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of
Happy to
course.
support you all anytime, and keep flying, okay?
Yeah, we truly appreciate you volunteering your time for us today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
You too. Bye. Thank you. Okay.